Welcome back to Money Honeys. I'm Freddie.
I'm Devin.
And I'm Chantel.
If you're new here, we are ex-BuzzFeeders who lived and breathed viral digital content for a good chunk of our adult careers. Since then, we've left BuzzFeed and things have changed a lot. We are just a few girls just trying to stay on top of our finances amidst this tumultuous, ever-changing entertainment industry that we chose to be a part of. So today, I want to take it back to basics, and I want to talk about money myths and misconceptions in 2024. How are you feeling today, ladies?
Well, I would say Mercury is retrograding today. My microphone, as you all know, but for our listeners, my microphone died the second we started recording. So I probably sound a little less profesh than the ladies, but we're making do.
We move. You sound great.
We keep moving. We're rolling, you know. It is hot in Los Angeles. I am surviving. I'm wilting, but I'm here, you know?
Electric bills are high.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah, they hurt. They hurt when they come in. They hurt.
Hopefully, today's episode can maybe improve our moods a little bit, help to pretty much talk about like what's true, what's not, like what have we been told our whole lives about money that may have some truth to them, may be complete lies. Like, let's just like jump into it.
I love it.
Yeah, let's do it. So, something that I love about the Money Honeys crew is that we all have similar backgrounds when it comes to how we grew up understanding money. And this doesn't mean that we came from the same exact socioeconomic background, but what that means is that none of us were born into families with a lot of money. All of our parents worked day in and day out to give us necessities and a little bit more where they could. So I know for me personally, when I first left home and looked for an apartment after college, when I was like getting my big girl job in New York City, I was concerned because one of the few things that I knew about apartment hunting and things like that was that checking your credit score too many times can lower it, and it can not be good for your credit score. It can not be good for your financial safety net or foundation. And I want to talk about that. Does checking your credit score too many times in a short period of time lower your score?
Well, that's something I had always been told. You know, that like you don't want to go to Macy's or like Best Buy and get all the new credit cards in a day or whatever, because they're gonna have to run a credit check, and then it's gonna look like you are just fraudulent, that you're just a fraudulent baby. And that always felt very weird to me, because like, what's wrong with checking your money? And what's wrong with checking your score? Isn't that just your due diligence?
Right. I also love that your brain immediately went to Macy's and Best Buy. Like Macy's, that's like not quite defunct, but essentially defunct. And Best Buy, that's like, I don't know, I would say hanging on by a thread. I hope I'm wrong. But let's talk about Sears.
That's, ladies, like the easiest no I've ever said in my entire life, when they're always like, would you like to open a Macy's credit card today? I'm always like, nope. No, I won't.
Same.
Yeah.
Do y'all remember Circuit City?
Yes.
Do I remember Circuit City? Come on now. I am an elder millennial.
Radio Shack?
Is Radio Shack still a thing? I feel like there's a couple left, no?
A couple Radio Shacks hanging on by thread?
Yeah. Like a couple. I think I might have seen like an international Radio Shack. I don't know if I'm making that up. I don't know if I dreamed that. Lord only knows. But this could quickly be Googled, but I'm not in the mood. I would rather speculate. I love a good speculation from time to time.
Yeah, Chantel's over here being like, allegedly, Radio Shack exists.
Same with Best Buy. I'm just like trashing everything that I could easily Google, and I'm just making the conscious choice not to.
It is crazy. It is crazy to think about the fact that like these electronic stores are struggling, and there used to be so many of them. I remember as a kid, like I would get so excited when I would go with my dad to Best Buy, and I would just walk around and look at all the new cell phones and speakers and like computer games. all the different Sims that were out. Like, it was such a time.
Yes, The Sims. Oh my God. Yeah, my dad would take me, I would save up my little monies and I would be like embarrassed buying them because I always had kind of like little racy like covers. And so, and
Yeah.
I was, and like they were rated like M for mature. And I was
They
like, I'm just a
were.
little Christian girly. Like, this isn't me. Even though I was just like making all my Sims be gay and stuff.
And smooch and cuddle and canoodle. So ridiculous.
So and woohoo, I was like, oh, I was like, they need to get married first.
Have you played The Sims recently? I'm sure so much has changed.
Yeah, I have played somewhat recently. I probably maybe like January or February of this year is when I last played.
Oh.
I mean, they have a new expansion pack that either just came out or is about to come out. That's kind of like the like lovey-dovey one. I don't know the exact name of it, but I was watching a TikTok and there was this mom just calling it The Sims polyamory. And so in my head, that's what it's called. I have no idea what the expansion pack is actually called.
That is hilarious. It should just be called that. I don't know why it's not.
The Sims polyamory.
Yeah, exactly.
Yet another thing we could Google, but we won't.
No, we're choosing that. Sometimes, you know what? We're just girlies who guess. Sometimes it's just more fun to not know and to just wish upon a star.
Yeah, absolutely. So the question that I posed was, does checking your credit score too many times in a short period of time lower your score? So, plainly put like that, it is a myth. You can check your credit score however many times you want. As a matter of fact, you should be checking your credit score. These are called soft inquiries. And this is just a way to stay on top of your credit score and make sure that like nothing fishy is going on. Make sure that no one is like stealing your identity or there aren't any fraudulent charges. Like checking your credit score will get you privy to that faster than not doing it. So highly recommend soft inquiries, checking your credit score. You can use TransUnion, you can use Experian, you can use Equifax. There are tons of sites that you can sign up for that are free that can allow you to check your credit score. Now, with that said, if you are applying for a mortgage, applying for a loan, applying for an apartment, and you have someone who's doing a credit check for you, like an outside party, that's called a hard inquiry. And yes, if you get too many of those done in a short period of time, then it does knock your credit score down a little bit. But don't worry, it's only between 1 and 5 points on your credit score. It stays on your report for 2 years, but it only actually affects your score for 1. So it's nothing too crazy. I don't know why that's such this like looming rumor that's been, circulating young adults' brains and minds for however long, but it's not that deep. Definitely check your own credit score and then just be aware of like what can happen or that your credit score will change when you are making a big purchase or taking out a loan, things like that.
I just had to freeze my credit today because one of the Social Security, this is something I'm actually going to Google, but one of our Social Security informations got leaked. Yeah, Social Security breach. So
what?
As of today, as of 12 hours ago, 2.9 billion records, including Social Security numbers, were stolen in a data hack. So I saw this on MSNBC.com, and they recommended that you freeze your credit, which is just like basically saying that no one can take out a loan in your name or open any more credit cards. And then it doesn't cost you anything to freeze your credit. But the only annoying thing is you have to go in and unfreeze it. So just those 3 credit score sites that you referenced earlier, TransUnion, Equifax, Experian, I think is another one. You have to go on there and freeze it. And literally, it's so stupid. You just have to make an account and click the toggle that says with the snowflake on it. I was like, I feel like an idiot.
It's so literal. Yeah, I remember. You guys remember when somehow my credit card information got stolen like a couple years ago, and like over the course of like 5 or 6 months, in little small tiny amounts, people were taking out like money that added up to like $30,000. It was when I was with Bank of America. It was crazy. And so when that happened, so when that happened, I had to go in and freeze my credit.
Oh my God.
my God.
I forgot about that.
It was insane.
Why do they always spend money at one of three places? When they use your credit card information, they always spend money at Walmart or Zaxby's or like 7-Eleven. And it's always so little purchases here and there that end up to be like $30,000.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
The one that I remember specifically was they took out an Old Navy credit card.
What the hell?
How many cargo pants can a person buy?
Like, what? Why Old Navy? I mean, they probably don't check identity as much when they're just, it's like the 17-year-old kid opening the credit card for you. I mean, something that I remember is like you had to go on these specific websites in order to check your credit. And then I also believed the myth that like if you check it too much, then it would affect your credit. And I remember I would always get so mad because I'd be like, that is my credit. Why do I not get to see what my damn score is? And it's like, in reality, I like could have just like someone told me that I couldn't. So I was all huffy about it.
Chantel, how many times a day do you check your banking app?
Girl, like, I mean, today I've been on at least 3 times and it's 6:15 at night. And I'll probably check at least like once or twice more.
It's because it's the 15th. We're recording on August 15th today. So this is when we get paid.
True.
Yeah, I'm like, when's that little check coming in, baby?
Yeah.
Like, well, and because it's like, I buy everything pretty much on one single credit card. And so that's also just like how I budget. Like I have my kind of like amount that I want to stay within each week. And so I check it to make sure that I'm just kind of like on track. And so that's always why I look at it. And I'm like, did the pending charge go through? Like what's happening? It's like my little Super Bowl is my Chase app. I'm like, oh my God, how old am I?
And also like, when you get paid, it's like nice to kind of see like, whew, okay, now let me spread my money out. Let me do my thing. So the next statement, it's kind of cute, kind of not once you like really get into it, but it's cute to start, okay? A 6-figure salary will buy you happiness. No, this is not a true or false. This is just like, do you agree, do you not?
My question is, what figures are part of that 6-figure? Because I'm like, if we're talking like a 200,000, I'm like, yeah, that would buy me happiness. Because for me, I'm like, it's not so much that money buys happiness, but money buys peace and freedom, and those are big components of happiness for me.
But that's a good question, right? Are we closer to 100,000 or are we closer to 700,000? I think that when I hear like a 6-figure salary, like as a kid, my parents saying like, oh yeah, 6-figure salary, like that's the goal. I'm thinking like in the 100,000s for the time. Like this is something that we were told as kids. So at that point, like kind of where money was pre-inflation, like 6 figures, just hitting that 6-figure, 100,000 felt like rich. It felt like wealth.
Oh my God, it felt like so much. It felt like so much money, which is insane because now LA living $100,000 is like not what it should be.
Okay.
It's not.
Devin, what do you think?
So initially my gut reaction was like, yes, obviously. However, I have an addendum. Money, 6-figure salary buys happiness, but it is a ratio of the amount of work I have to give in. So if I work 20 hours a week and get paid $100,000 a year, I'm a happy girl. But if I work 80 hours a week and get paid $100,000 a year, I am not a happy girl. So I think it has to do with how many hours, what's my hourly? okay, what's my day rate?
Mm-hmm.
In general, I agree with Chantel. Money doesn't buy happiness, it buys ease. It buys security. And that
Mm-hmm.
makes a person happy.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that we're all generally aligned. I think growing up, a six-figure salary felt like a pie in the sky dream. If you reach that, all of your financial woes disappear. Incorrect, false. This is a money myth that is a myth. It is false.
Mm-hmm.
It is a misconception. In general, money can't buy happiness, but like the lady said, it can buy ease, which then in turn just makes you less moody and makes me less of a bitch, to be honest.
If we can get
There
all
it
our
is.
snackies and our treats, then if we could buy our zesty snacks.
And kind of like what you were saying, Chantel, like with inflation and cost of living, six figures doesn't actually get you too far, especially in LA. The national average salary in 2022 rounded out at $74,580. For some reason, I couldn't find the numbers for 2023. Maybe they're still, the IRS and like the census are still ironing out taxes. Not sure. I have a few more questions. So, can you guys guess which is the lowest earning state in the United States?
Arkansas. No, Mississippi.
Ooh, those are
why do you think?
really
Why
good
do you think
guesses.
Mississippi?
Mississippi, as a girly from the South, Mississippi is a southern state that always gets shit on, I feel like. I feel like it's always scoring the lowest for schooling and money towards education. And in my mind, I always conflate that with salary. Like how much is the state investing in their education, because your return on investment is higher salaried paying jobs because you got smarter workers.
Right. Okay, Chantel.
That is a very smart answer. I have nothing to contribute, so I'm just going to hop on Devin's bandwagon because mine would just be a pure out of the blue guess with no reasoning.
Just like saying something. Yeah,
with no reasoning.
Devin and Chantel, you both are absolutely correct. It's
Yay,
Mississippi.
Devin!
Yeah.
It's so sad. And it's the hardest state to spell. Like, come on, they need that education down there.
According to USA Today, Mississippi is the lowest earning state with an average annual income of $48,048, which is over $11,000 below the U.S. average.
Wow.
So, yeah, I don't even know. I mean, I've never been to Mississippi, but I'm just like under 50K average.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
Yeah.
Especially living in LA, thinking about those numbers is crazy. All that to say, yes, it sounds cliche, but the only thing you can count on buying you happiness is if you're able to find passion or value or purpose in the work that you choose to do. Now, I will say that it is a blessing and a privilege to be able to find passion in your work. But even if you can find a little bit, you're on the right path to just like exuding happiness and getting happiness from your everyday lifestyle, how you work, where you work, what you do, all those things. So,
well, thank you for holding our hands while you walked us through that, Fred. I felt like you were hugging me the whole time.
oh,
It's good to remember that in our broke season, because I think my initial gut reaction was like, yes, I would love that. Happiness is a cocktail, and it requires a lot of ingredients.
It really does.
That's a perfect description.
I love that. Oh my gosh. Full quote for socials.
Yeah.
Wow.
Happiness is a cocktail, babes.
All right. We are going to tackle our final money myth / misconception for this episode. Ladies, are you ready?
Yes.
So ready.
All right. So
I want Devin to answer first.
okay.
And I'm having a coasting evening. I'm like, Google, who is she? Guessing, informed guesses, don't know her either.
Don't know
Devin will absolutely jump on her back along for the ride. Thank you so much.
Okay.
So the statement is, it's better to buy a house than to rent.
I'm going to answer first for both Chantel and I, because this is something that I've actually been thinking about.
Uh-huh.
So And the New York Times just published an article a couple months ago about how for millennials, we are the first generation where it might actually be better for us to rent rather than to buy a house, just because there's a lot of upfront costs that, and back in the day, let me back up. Back in the day, it used to be you would buy a quote unquote starter house. So it would be like a smaller home for when you're starting your family, blah, 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 blah. But then eventually down the road, you would buy a bigger home and that would be your forever home, right? That step no longer exists because there's a lot of upfront costs to buying a home. Not to mention just the cost of, if something breaks, like Chantel, didn't you have something break in your AC you had to replace? It was like $5,000.
Yep. That exact amount, actually. Yeah, it broke and it was $5,000. You're exactly correct. It broke within the first 2.5 years. You are on fire. See, that is why I'm coasting. That's why I'm a little passenger princess today.
So yeah, you spend your $5,000 up front to replace your AC unit because it's yours. So there's this new term that's coming around called being quote unquote house poor, where you're having to pay so much money in mortgage or HOA fees or maintenance fees or whatever it is up front that it leaves you with very little cash monies in the bank afterwards. But hey, you have a house. It's something that I've actually been contending with because Patrick and I, we just got married. And so the next step is to look for buying a house. But it's just like in Los Angeles, and he's doing well. I am doing fine with a lowercase f.
And a ... afterwards.
He's doing super good though. So that should be our next step. However, because we're both not raking in over 150K, it just doesn't make sense for us right now. So yes, we are throwing away money, but the idea is instead of for an example, let's just say my rent is $1,000, right? But to have a mortgage, it would be $2,500. The idea is that you take that extra, you throw away your $1,000 in rent every month, but then you take that extra $1,500 and invest it. And then you're actually getting money back at a quicker rate than if you had a house. So yeah, that's my answer.
I concur, and I have a couple additions just to back up my girl.
Love it.
Wow.
Love it. Let's hear
Friendship.
it. Let's hear it.
Yeah, this is girlhood, ladies and gentlemen. So I think also it depends on the market. So right now, interest rates are really, really high. Whereas before, if you got a more conventional interest rate, not to be confused with conventional loan, but just an interest rate that was lower. So mine is in the 4%. And so because of my interest rate, paying my mortgage is way cheaper than what it would cost to rent my place. However, with really high interest rates right now, that's not always the case. And so you could be out your down payment. You could have, like Devin said, with my AC upfront, maintenance costs, and you're paying around the same amount as it would cost to rent a place like that. And so I think it depends on a lot of different factors. Whereas right now, if you buy right now, again, good for you. But it's once the interest rates go down, it's baby girl, refinance that shit because is hard. I don't envy people because like there are some people who are just in a position where they just like have to like buy a home to get into a place. And I'm like, that would be a really tough call right now. That would be a really tough call.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen on like just like Instagram and TikTok and stuff like all of these like, and they're mostly like younger white couples, but they're like, we were able to retire at 29 because we just kept buying homes.
Yes. Yes. They're like, we invested our initial like $75K. I'm like, bitch, where'd you get that from though? Like what?
For those listening on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts, we're rolling our eyes. Our eyes are stuck in the back of our head because yes, I've seen those people. And they're the same people who were like, and now we have Airbnb properties and we ruin the neighborhood. But hey,
Yep.
we have $700,000 in the bank.
I just wanted to bring that up, and I love that you all finished my thought so gracefully. I loved it. To answer the question, it's better to buy a house than to rent. That is the myth that I think floats around the ecos. That is the myth that I think has been floating around for a long time. It is in fact a myth. At one point, it was truth, kind of like what Devin was saying and what Chantel was saying. And then depending on interest rates, it can be true. But it is not a blanket statement, and it shouldn't be used as a blanket statement that buying a house is just overall a much better or more responsible decision than renting. And so much goes into that. Like, we're talking about the upfront costs, and by upfront costs, like, there's a lot that goes into it, but I'm mainly thinking about down payment because of how expensive homes are. In order to not be house poor, which you brought up a second ago, Devin, like, I feel like I have to put down a huge down payment. You know what I mean? So that's just like, I feel like now I would have to put down, way more than what I put down 3 years ago when I bought my house. Like the prices and the inflation has just gotten so insane. So yes, depending on where you're at, renting can actually be the smarter option. Maybe you have a job that requires you to relocate often. Would it be wise to buy a house? It depends, right? It's like, yes, a lot of people would immediately say, yes, if you buy a house, if you have to move, you just bring in tenants, they rent out your house, they pay your mortgage for you. But what a lot of people don't discuss and talk about is that, like, being a property manager is a job in itself. So do you have time to do that? And if you don't, you're going to have to pay someone to manage your property, which is even more expensive and like another expense that you have to take into account. Another thing is that I think in general, the upfront costs, the maintenance, the property taxes get me every year. I know that for sure. Like, I'm paying, thousands, and because I've been able to save and like really manage my money in a way that has allowed me to sort of, easily pay these property taxes, I'm okay. But like, a lot of people aren't in that position. It just takes a lot of planning. It takes a lot of forethought. You can't forget. There's things that pop up all the time. And so, yes, I am happy that I am a homeowner, but like, I don't think that it is a better decision than renting by any means. So that is
Yeah. I think it's incredibly layered. And you know what I just thought of as you were talking about property taxes? I feel like property taxes are like our running theme this season. We just like continue to talk about property taxes.
It always comes back. It does.
It always comes back to property taxes.
It always comes back to property taxes. And I just had a thought, so like I pay, like mine come out of my like escrow account. And so I pay towards them every year, or I pay towards them every month. And I'm like, what would actually be better for me to do is to not pay into that account, but pay into my own high yield savings account and then be making money on that money. But again, that just requires me to de-automate something in my life. And like I have to do those calculations and then pay it at the end of the year. And if I was at a different point in my life, it'd be like, yeah, 100%. That's like saving me money and like making me money. It'd be like, yes, of course. But for where I'm at in my life, I'm like, I'm just looking for the least amount of stress as possible and the most amount of ease. And like, what can I automate? I'm just looking for peace. I'm just like constantly trying to create systems that give me more peace. And I'm like, but should I do that? I don't know.
Right. Well,
you have to like budget out time on a Saturday when you're like mentally well to do those tasks. And then that takes care of it.
Describe mentally well, because I don't know her. Like, what does that mean?
You know what I'm talking about, where like you have your green juice, you do your yoga, and you have like an afternoon where you're like, I feel good. That's
Yeah.
when you need
Mhm.
to
And
sit
it's like-
down and do those stupid
Yeah.
tasks.
You mean those fleeting moments? Yeah.
That come around once every 8 months.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
few and far between moments where you like feel good in your brain. Okay, cool.
My friend the other
ladies-
day was like, "Oh, so sorry. I
No,
just
no,
want to hop
you,
in
please.
want to hop in with a crazy story because we're talking about house owning and being house poor or whatever. But my friend the other day was telling me about another friend that she has who bought a storage unit situation. She bought like one of those storage unit houses or like businesses in Arizona and is making so much money from just having a storage unit that she rents out to people, because right now in America, people have so much crap that they need storage units. And I just think it's funny that people are getting rich and having more return on their investment by having a storage unit situation than a house to live in.
Wow. I mean, that's kind of genius.
All of it is anecdotal, and please don't take this as gospel, y'all. This is all anecdotal, and remember, we're not Googling anything this episode.
Yeah.
We already said that at the top, so we're safe. But I just think it's funny.
I mean, yeah, because with that, like you're getting, it's like a rental where you're getting money every month versus with a home, you're making money when you sell it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How much do storage units cost to buy? I've never looked into a storage unit. Do we do an episode on storage units?
I think
Maybe. I
think that's what we have to do.
Yeah. Okay.
They're very expensive to rent,
especially in Los Angeles.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good to know. Ladies, that concludes our first episode of the season, Money, Myths, and Misconceptions. There will be more of these episodes. We're just getting started, baby. But you guys aced it. You guys killed it. I appreciate you. We love you.
Bye.
Bye.